we are constantly seeking your feedback. So another opportunity that I do want to throw out. So obviously everybody that's in here, similar interests, I would encourage you, share your LinkedIn during the session in the chat. Great opportunity to connect with others of similar interests from around the country. So feel free to throw your LinkedIn in the chat, connect with each other, build out your professional network. So an opportunity there. Also, I had mentioned that questionnaire. I'm going to share the questionnaire at the end as well. So it should take you no more than 2 minutes to fill out. It's just a 2-question questionnaire. So those are all the things that I wanted to touch on. What I will do from here, I will pass it over to Tally and Melissa.
Wonderful. Thank you, RJ. And welcome, everyone. We are so excited to have our first Lunch and Learn with WGU 2025. I am hoping to making this more of a at least biannual, hopefully quarterly even meeting. I think we have some really great information that we would love to pass along to students such as yourselves. And so hopefully we'll be doing this more often and we'll get to connect with you more. But we're very excited to join this Lunch and Learn with you, and we are excited to get going. So my name is Tally. I am a Senior Talent Acquisition Partner with St. Alphonsus. I've been with the team, the Boise team, for just over 3.5 years, Trinity Health as a whole for 9 years. I've got 11 years overall in recruitment, and I love it. I think when you find a job that you love, it really shows and it comes out in your passion and just your ability to maintain day to day. And nursing is absolutely no exception. You have to have passion to do your job, to take care of your patients, to keep going during the difficult times. So first and foremost, thank you all for your passion for this career. It's been a difficult couple of years, as we know, especially for the medical community. So I just want to say a big thank you for staying with it, staying involved, not giving up on a very beautiful, often difficult career, but absolutely beautiful and life-changing. So a big thank you from the bottom of my heart to you all. Melissa is actually a WGU alum, and she will be doing this presentation with me. Melissa is our NAPA OB manager. She has been with St. Alphonsus for, oh my goodness, since 2009, sorry. And she's been on the team for 16 years, 13 years on the OB unit. She was in the supervisory role for about 5 years and then moved into the managerial role as of last year. And we are so blessed to have her as our manager. She brings such a wealth of experience to the big units we're going to be talking about career pathway into. She's not only the current manager of one of those, but she has lots of experience in the other unit as well. So please, if you have any questions, write them down. We will have different times to go over questions. And then like RJ mentioned at the end, we'll have a big question and answer break. But she is a wealth of knowledge. So you really have a great professional at your fingertips today. So please feel free to write down questions and Melissa will be absolutely able to answer those towards the end here. So we're going to go a little bit through St. Alphonsus, understanding employment, and then we'll be getting to the presentation part of a pathway to your desired unit, because we're finding that a lot of either new grads or continued education grads, which such as yourselves, are trying to get into specialty units and just not quite sure how to land that job. So that's why we were really thinking that this could be a great help to understanding how to get to your desired unit. So we'll first quick run through our health system as a whole. St. Alphonsus is part of Trinity Health. Now, Trinity Health is a national, are the slides not progressing?
They are.
They're going through on my end.
Oh, okay. They just aren't on mine. No worries.
Okay. Are we? Okay. Okay. Can everyone see my slides?
Yes.
Thumbs up, maybe? Okay. All right. So St. Alphonsus is a member of Trinity Health, and Trinity Health is the second largest Catholic healthcare organization in the country. So we have over thousands, tens of thousands of colleagues. Nampa particularly has over 106 beds, 6 operating rooms. Boise is the most advanced trauma center in the region, so we get lots and lots and lots of cases that other hospitals just aren't able to accommodate. And keep going this way. Let's see here. Areas that we serve would be over 70 areas, which is really incredible. We have neurosciences, emergency and trauma, cardiovascular and stroke, orthopedics, surgery, women's centers, which Melissa will cover, cancer. We have been recognized as level very important when you're looking for either a new job or a current job, making sure that you are looking for someone who has JCO accreditation, who has these very big credentials that are very hard to get. This is, I think, very important for understanding your next employer, is understanding who they are. Our mission at St. Alphonsus is we serve together in the spirit of the gospel as a compassionate and transforming healing presence within our communities. And when I think of that, I think directly nursing, but of course that correlates to all the medical communities. But it really is who we are. And when I'm going through resumes and talking with candidates, it's invaluable that they understand who we are, and then that's a good match for them as well. Like I mentioned, we are a Catholic health organization, so there will be some Catholic activities during the day, like sometimes a bell will ring, that's prayer. But it's so nice to be able to talk to candidates, especially nurses, and they can say, you know, I love it when I can pray next to a patient if the patient is comfortable with that. And I think that that's such a unique, special part of what makes St. Alphonsus exactly who we are. So we do bring that core value of the gospel, which is exactly where this started. Our core values, again, something I would definitely love each and every one of you to look into more, whether it's St. Alphonsus or a different hospital you're looking to get employment is really finding out what their core values are and saying, do I relate to that? Is this a part of my life? Our specific core values, reverent commitment to those experiencing poverty. St. Alphonsus was started by nuns, a group of nuns, and they wanted to do that. They wanted to help the poor. They wanted to help the sick and the needy. So we still are very much centered and geared toward the core values that were founded years and years ago. A couple more core values: safety, of course, safety above all else, justice, stewardship, integrity. So that's a bit about us. And we want to make sure that we're covering employment and really understanding employment and what the next step looks for. So what recruiters look for, that's myself. So I'm a senior talent acquisition partner, and we're going to go over some things that we look for in the talent acquisition group that really stand out for getting resumes in, for interviews. So this is what we look for. Another thing to keep note when you're job searching is the type of employment you want to look for. There are PRN positions for experienced nurses such as yourself. The PRN mostly comes without benefits. It's more of a fill-in. 1 shift per pay period is usually the unit specifies. Some units have different PRN needs. But in general, the biggest thing to note is that it's more fill-in and that doesn't include benefits. The full-time hours that we staff do include benefits, and that would be either 0.9 or 36 hours to 40 hours a week. We have excellent benefits, which I'll go over later in the presentation. Great benefit package. You can be either an exempt or non-exempt worker, mainly either management versus non-management. And then, of course, part-time hours, which would be anything under 16 hours a week. So when you're deciding how to make those FTE questions, do I want to get a full-time job? Do I want to get a full-time job? Some things to ask yourself to make your decision easier. What is the cost of living? We all know cost of living is going up absolutely everywhere, along with most other things. So really take the time to see what is the cost of living in the area I'm applying for? Can I make this work? Calculate your income, see what is the total rate of pay. Those things that are not included in bottom line wages, but is included when we talk about overall total value of employment would be PTO, wages, insurance. You have career growth. Are there growth opportunities? I know at St. Alphonsus, we really like to grow our team. We'll talk about career growth later. And having opportunities to grow and promote from within is huge. We love to see internal growth happen. So a lot of times if we get a new position, we'll post it internally first to try to grab any internal colleagues that are interested. And then if that doesn't work out, we'll post it externally. But we really do try to grow our team and give them those opportunities first. Some different ways to find jobs. Like RJ mentioned, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great networking platform. Other professional organizations, community business events are wonderful ways to just get your name out there. I think that is most important in every single area, but especially when it comes to medical, the people that you work with, your colleagues, your managers, your supervisors, those will be your references. And so it's so important to have great relationships and to build those relationships. We do have a great St. Al's Careers webpage, which I will be sending out either if you guys want to copy this link or I can send that out directly later. We've got some amazing opportunities ranging in any unit you think of. Telemetry, ortho, neuro, med surge, emergency department, labor and delivery. The list goes on and on with all the units we talked about at the beginning. So if you're interested in any of those jobs, I would highly advise visiting our St. Alphonsus Careers webpage and going through the application process, which we'll talk about later on. Okay. Applying to positions. So I'm going to be your gatekeeper. Anytime that you apply for a position, you get screened by a talent acquisition partner first. So we're going to be talking about what we're looking for to move you on to that next step to get to Melissa, who's going to be the ultimate decision maker for your hiring manager. Going back to utilizing job boards a little bit more, posting your resume can bring employers to you. I know on LinkedIn, there's a little spot where you can advertise that you are looking and you're open to looking for jobs without your current employer knowing about it. So you can still be out there, post your resume without having your current employer, if that's something that you want to keep that kind of secret from them. Is there any questions so far for this part of the presentation? Mostly going over recruitment, FTEs, networking. I'll look at the chat, and if we don't have any, we'll continue going. And again, feel free to write down questions and keep them for the end of the presentation as well. All right, so navigating your career. This is where Melissa is going to take over for a little bit, and she will be moving us through going through labor and delivery and the ED department.
So I was actually lucky enough to start in the emergency department as a RN, and then I transitioned to labor and delivery. And then eventually ended up here as the manager of both OB and the NICU here at St. Al's Nampa. Can you see my slides advancing?
Yeah.
Or are you needing to do it for me? Okay.
I was advancing them. I don't know if you...
Oh, sync to presenter. Okay.
All right. I'll let you advance those.
Okay. So unit pathways on how to, if you are interested in labor and delivery or the NICU, we are a very specialized unit. A lot of people don't know that obstetrics is the highest litigation of any nursing specialty. So we really want people to have a good foundation nursing foundation of those assessments before they get to us. A good way to do that is starting in med surg, telemetry, float pool, medical oncology, those kinds of places where you can really focus on your assessments, and get some good base nursing experience, and then applying to a labor and delivery or NICU unit. Skills you will learn in the pathway. Like I said, these units will help build those nursing assessment skills, time management, prioritization, exercising critical thinking. These will all set you up for success in applying to an OB and NICU unit. Starting on a postpartum unit is also beneficial if you are able to get in that door. On my unit, we staff both labor and delivery and postpartum. But if you get into a hospital that has a postpartum only unit, that is another good pathway to transition into labor and delivery. There's a lot of free obstetrical education modules through HealthStream that are also available that help set you above the bar. One of the other things I wanted to mention, if you are very interested in OB, becoming a member of A1, that's our nursing OB obstetrics governing body, that is also helpful. Certification and specialties required for my unit are neonatal nurse resuscitation, NRP. We require, as a Trinity health system, we require all of our labor and delivery nurses to be certified in electronic fetal monitoring. On my unit, we also sometimes take surgical pediatrics. So PALS is required on my unit. And then we circulate our own ORs. And function and PACU. So ACLS is also required. And then STABLE is a phenomenal course that helps stabilizing newborns to transition either out of the NICU or to transport to a higher level of care. So for neonatal intensive care unit, nurses who work in the NICU must be able, like I said, critical thinking is at the forefront of everything we do. Our patients come to us with varying degrees of critical need, whether it be blood sugar stability, temperature stability, respiratory distress. It may be just that a baby is needing to transition post-delivery. Some babies just need that little bit of extra time to figure it out after delivery. Some of the things that I look for when I am looking for a NICU nurse is it is absolutely a team sport. So teamwork is essential between nurses and the rest of the interdisciplinary team. We have a variety of team members that function in our NICU, from our unit clerks, our CNAs, to our milk techs. So we fortify a lot of formula, and we treat formula feeding as a medication. And sometimes we have to fortify to increase the calorie of the formula, those kinds of things. Case management is a big piece in the NICU, helping facilitate discharge, appointments post-discharge. We work with pharmacy quite a bit, and a big piece of that teamwork is the family. Your patient isn't able to speak for themselves. So having the parents involved is a huge piece to that. So being able to work within that interdisciplinary team. Like I said, communication is key. One of the things that we focus highly on my units is closed-looped communication, and you can even practice this within school, at home, but closed-looped communication, it doesn't matter what specialty you go into, it's going to be key, whether it be receiving orders from your physician to communication between your charge nurse, having that closed loop communication is essential. And like I said, time management, that's why we really look for nurses that have worked on med-surg or places like that before coming to us, because within the NICU and labor and delivery, we are dealing with high risk situations and very acute patients. So you have to be able to manage your time. Babies are fabulous and they do really well until they don't. So in the NICU, we will have a kiddo that is doing phenomenal and we see progression and things like that. But if that baby starts to work at all, babies tend to work until they fall off the cliff. So you have to be able to critically think and manage your time appropriately so that if that happens, you are able to intervene at a moment's notice. Labor and delivery is the same way. If you delay charting and things like that and other tasks, then when your patient now needs an emergency C-section, you've put yourself way behind. So you need to be able to manage your time. ER is very, very similar. It goes from same thing as labor and delivery. It goes from nothing to a whole lot of something very, very fast. So having a good foundation for your nursing assessment skills and time management is huge in the ER as well. Like I said, the ER can go from nothing to a whole lot of something very fast. Part of the reason I liked ED and then liked labor and delivery is they're very similar. If you're an adrenaline junkie, it is the place for you. It is a high stress environment. And you have to be able to think on your feet very quickly. We encourage nurses to gain experience and confidence. We are settling patients very quickly and having to do those doorway assessments. You have to be able to do your head to toe quick. We call it a doorway assessment, very fast to know kind of what you're walking into. A good place to look for resources and research before applying to the ED is nursing standards of care for emergency departments. When you're applying to these kinds of jobs, I absolutely look for someone who has done their research and has some situational awareness of the specialty. So that's just something to keep in mind. That will set you apart from someone who hasn't done the research. If I have two people that are of similar value and caliber when I'm interviewing, I'm going to look for somebody who has done the research as to what is required for this specialty. And that sets you up to be able to function when you get to the unit. Both ED and labor and delivery and NICU, you need to be able to remain calm in the storm. Like I said, there's a lot of stressful situations that come in all three of those specialties, and you need to kind of know yourself before applying for those positions, because you need to be a person that can, okay, take a breath, 3 seconds, okay, and then move to the next thing. Because they are high stress situations at times, and you have to be able to navigate your way through quickly and calmly. One, to help facilitate good teamwork in the emergency. That's where that closed loop communication comes in. And two, you need to be able to keep your patient calm. If I have a patient, whether it be in the ER that's having a heart attack or in labor and delivery that is now needing a crash C-section, you need to be able to keep your patient calm, because if they become overwhelmed and up here, that just escalates everything else. One thing that I like to talk about when I'm hiring new staff. At St. Alphonsus, we really, really work to promote growth and failing forward. So we do not tolerate the old school mentality, like when I became a nurse, of the eating your young. That was very much a thing 16 years ago when I became a nurse. Um, that is not the case anymore, and we do not tolerate that kind of a mentality. We all need a space where we can grow in a safe environment. So that is something that we really, really focus on.
Thank you so much, Melissa, for navigating and going through those amazing pathways. And you have so much knowledge and expertise behind. So thank you so much for demonstrating that. I will quick take over for a minute and do tips for your career. And this is going to be, Melissa's going to have some examples of some candidates that maybe she passed on because they didn't prepare quite well enough. So this is going to be really important for everyone who's getting close to finishing maybe your BSN or your MSN, or you're looking to get into a different area. So just some tips for your career. Number one, really, how do you get your foot in the door? We all know there's the application process, but not everybody does the application process or really knows how to do that. So we're going to go through this, and application, resume, references, all of that needs to encompass you as a whole. First, so how to build out your resume. Make sure you're adding all of your relevant education certificates and clinicals. Any leadership positions you've held, any opportunities, anything that is really, really relatable that you feel, okay, this is, maybe it was a organization you were in for school that was nursing specific, anything leadership related. We want to see those skills. This is really your time to kind of boast about yourself, right? This is the first way that you're going to be able to sell yourself to a recruiter who's going to then say, wow, I came across this amazing resume. I can't wait to get them on the phone. I'm going to call you right now. And that's where the whole relationship building starts. So your resume really is, it's so important to have a great resume and be okay to boast about yourself, boast about things that you've done, boast about accomplishments, different organizations, like I met, different volunteering you're involved in, anything community related. It helps us get to know you as a whole just before we even get to meet you. So a resume is really, really key. And I think a lot of people don't take the time to really build out an exceptional resume. And it's very, very important. Details matter. Recruiting is searching by really, really keywords. So the more keywords you have on your resume, when I'm looking for, say I'm cold calling, I'm on Indeed, I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm typing in maybe Boise, 30 miles. So I'm looking for an applicant within that 30-mile space. I'm going to type in specific keywords. Make sure you know what those keywords are. Most likely it's going to be either the unit, labor and delivery, emergency, trauma, registered nursing, either LPN, CNA experience, anything related to the unit you're searching for will be your keywords that you really want to have on your resume, because that is how I will find you if you don't find me. So there's obviously ways for you guys as applicants to apply, but a lot of times if we don't have direct applicants, either the sourcing team or myself as a talent acquisition partner will go out and do sourcing ourselves. We'll really kind of do headhunting still, even with all the platforms to apply. A lot of times we're still searching for that very unique individual. So having those keywords in your resume will help me find you and hopefully help you find the jobs when you're applying for them. So remember that personalizing your resume for each application is key. I can't tell you how many times I see a cover letter or a resume that looks great, but it has dear so-and-so of a different organization. And Is that big of a deal? Yes and no, but it does tell me that you didn't take the time to just make that quick edit and customize it to the specific unit or organization that you're actually applying for. So those small details actually do make a big difference when it comes to, again, moving through the interview process and getting to Melissa. And I'll go through, yes. So that really, really is key. So use your resume, like I mentioned earlier, to sell yourself. We still don't like to see, I got like an 8-page resume the other day, and yes, I went through it, but that's just more time. And so we do appreciate a resume if it can be kind of built down to 4 pages. It also leaves more things for you to talk about in the interview. A lot of times I will say, I see you worked as maybe, you know, an ED tech here. Can you tell me what else you've done that's maybe related to that? So that also, it's important to leave more things to talk about, for me to ask questions and dig a little bit deeper. So your resume should be a good overall view of who you are, but then have an opportunity to leave space for me to ask questions and for you to kind of fill in and say, you know, I wrote this about my position, but let me add X, Y, and Z detail. This is just an example of one of my colleagues' resumes. He's a talent acquisition partner. And just, again, identifying keywords, personal experience, short but sweet. We need it to be, some people will put their picture in the corner. It just seems to be professional. You want to make sure you're looking for grammatical errors, typos. Again, anything that just makes you feel like you're putting your very best foot forward by this resume, since that is really your first way for me to meet you before we actually get to meet on the phone or virtually. So again, adding your work requirements, education, certifications. We don't ask directly for diploma or transcripts up front. That will be more of the onboarding process, but you got to have those readily available. So cover letters, resumes, again, this is your way to really set yourself apart from everybody else. Your way to customize yourself and to really, again, kind of boast about you. And it's hard this day and age to really say, I think it's hard for some people to really kind of talk about everything good that they've done, the big deals, because I think we're modest, and this is your time to say, I'm proud of what I've done in the past. This is my experience, and this is how it's going to be relatable to the job I'm looking for. Be prepared. It is so important. And I think this was a big piece maybe 10 years ago, but I feel like since COVID, it's gone down a little bit, where people are just out there applying right away, just kind of real quick, and they're not taking the time to really research the organization. When I went over our core values and who we are as a hospital, that is something that I love when somebody says, you know, hey, I went onto your website, I had a chance to view what you guys are all about. And I feel like whether it's reverence to the poor, any piece that they can say, I felt like this piece of what makes St. Alphonsus you is me, and really being able to relate who you are, because you took and it doesn't have to take long. 5-10 minutes going on a website can really give you so much more of an idea of what makes that company, that organization, who they are. But it really shows so much that you took the time to get to know us. And I know that's a really big portion of when you talk to the hiring manager. They want you to have questions. They want you to be able to say, hey, I was on your website, I saw this and that, but maybe there's a question that you found that can lead to another question that can be very insightful. So it's important to, like I mentioned, research the organization. If you know who you're talking with, research me, check out my LinkedIn profile. Please add me. I would love to get to know you all more as well. And the more clicks and views you have, the more people you are connected with on LinkedIn, especially, just helps build your network. Make thoughtful questions. I always kind of end the interview with, do you have any questions that we didn't talk about? Do you have any questions you want to elaborate on? And I know from a hiring manager's perspective, having questions and having not only questions, but thoughtful questions is really, really imperative. And I know Melissa mentioned earlier that she kind of made a deciding factor on a candidate based on how well prepared they were with thoughtful questions thought out. And so that really can be a deciding factor between really looking and feeling like you're being prepared. And that not only makes a big deal in how you interview, but also the interviewer, such as Melissa's hiring decision on the very end. You always want to be on time. My mom always said being on time is 5 minutes early. So I would always like to be on time. Now that we're doing a lot of virtual, because just like candidates like yourself, you're all over the nation. So we would never say, oh, you have to fly to Boise to interview. I would say probably 95% of the interviews we do on the TAP side, so first talking to me, is virtual. So you do have the ability to be on camera, and there's definitely been times where I've seen some things in the background, some lingerie being, hung to dry, and that just isn't necessary. You want to take the time to make sure you're in an environment that is professional, and just be. It's those small things that I think make a really big difference, that people think, oh, I've got the interview, I've got this. And appropriate environment, dressing appropriately, even for a virtual call, pretend like you're in person. I would say that's the thing I feel like it's really gotten out of, with everyone being so comfortable and, COVID PJs. You still want to be professional and show your professional side, even on a virtual call, and especially for an in-person interview, if you do decide to interview, if you're able to interview in person. So taking the stage, you want to make a great introduction of yourself, go over your experience and skills, talk about career goals. Career goals are so big. Like I mentioned earlier, we love to promote from within, and hearing that you are goal oriented and that you have something in the mind for a future is huge. We'll go over some behavioral questions. We want to hear your questions as well. We want you guys to have done enough research to be able to ask us about questions about our organization. And then, of course, it's always good to ask about next steps. I always make sure to wrap up my interviews with next steps. Usually that is getting an interview scheduled with the hiring manager and yourself at that time, which is generally how a good interview at least goes. Sometimes I'll say, I need to reach back out to you. But generally we'll go on next steps, and that will involve getting an interview scheduled. I did see something pop up in the chat here, so let me take time to go through that. Yes, like Melissa mentioned, cover letters are huge.
I've just been adding things in the chat as you've been going.
No, I love that. I'll let everyone read that, but again, she's wonderful. She's so knowledgeable. So anything that is in the chat, I definitely take advantage of, read. I'll let you guys read through that. Oh, good. You like to see pictures. I know that kind of, it comes and goes with what some hiring leaders like to see and don't like to see. I feel like I'm getting a little washed out here, so let me move.
Professional pictures.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
For sure.
Yes. And of course, honesty. I was interviewing a gal yesterday, and it looked like she had about 5 years of actual RN experience, and it ended up she had been an LVN the whole time, or an LPN, so a licensed nurse practitioner. And so we got almost towards the very end, we were going through experience-wise, and it wasn't a waste of time, but it was very misleading. And some companies call that falsifying your resume, which could just lead to an immediate, okay, we're done. I did tell her, I said, the way you have this set up is slightly misleading. It looks like you had about, 4+ years of actual working RN experience, because her titles on each of her job titles was emergency department RN. It all said RN. So when I found out it was actually an LPN experience, I had to really question myself, and I asked her to revise it. And I said, this is great experience, but it definitely is misleading. And I didn't want her to feel like she was in trouble, but some companies can take that and they would just say it automatic. Nope, that's falsifying your resume. She did have in the corner, she said, well, don't you see down in the corner that it says graduation 2025 and it says LPN And I said, I do, but when I'm going through the bulk of your experience, if you have a title that isn't your actual job title, that's a red flag. So we do want to make sure to be honest, be authentic, be specific, be succinct. Again, keeping it kind of that 4-page, being able to keep it succinct. And then, of course, prepare. If you haven't interviewed for a while, I always suggest practicing with friends and family. You can pull up a quick interview guide online and just practice interviewing. Like anything else, the more you do it, the better you get. So many nurses, especially in Idaho. So we are really lacking nurses per person in Idaho. I think it's like 7.83 per nurses per 1,000 people. So in the state of Idaho, we're very low for per capita nurses. And so a lot of the nurses that we get on resumes, I think because they know that we are in need of nurses, they don't take the time to really be prepared, or they kind of just go through the interview thinking, oh, I've got the experience, I'm going to get the job. And it's not like during COVID where we just needed to really fill bodies. We really are looking for the best fit overall. Your experience, also matching our cultural and that unit fit. Each manager runs their units differently. We really give them autonomy to, again, hire their own staff, also schedule their own staff. They really have autonomy to run their units, to have the units as they see fit. So it's not 6 years ago. Thank goodness, we definitely have dug ourselves out of the ditch from that. And so it is so important to show up and to be prepared. Again, you're not a shoo-in just because you have the experience. So don't miss out on a great opportunity because you didn't take an extra 15 minutes to prepare and/or practice. I think practicing is so important. Talk to your family, talk to your friends, pull out a quick interview guide, and just be comfortable talking. Talk about experiences, be comfortable talking about yourself. Some things you can definitely be prepared for interviews would be behavioral-based questions. We love to have examples of, and there's definitely different categories. So behavioral-based questions are really used, especially for hiring leaders, because we're going to talk about past events to kind of determine how you will, as a nurse, use that past experience and how that will help you forecast a future event. So how you would deal with a patient if you've ever, sorry. So we do have something called the STAR technique, and it's kind of talking about a situation, talking about a task, what was your action, and then what was the result. And I think the STAR technique can be great for the behavioral-based questions that you'll definitely be talking about, more so with hiring managers. Like I mentioned, we like to have you guys show up with thoughtful questions. Hiring managers, HMs really care what research you've done. Ask questions, find out what the decision time frame is, ask about next steps. Sometimes, I definitely try to go through all of my checklists as a TAP, talent partner. But if you have any additional questions, we love to hear that. That just means that you've done more research and that you're even more wanting to learn more about our organization. So we love questions. So I've listed some career sites here, and I think I'll be sending out an email. I'll get everyone's contact from RJ. We would love to have you guys take a look at our job boards. These are QR codes on the side, so you can either scan the QR codes and it'll bring you to that website, or I can send out these websites for you guys to explore. We've got our careers, clinical rotations, observation and shadowing, and then just kind of your future overall for St. Al's careers. So that wraps up kind of the more presentation portion. I would love to chat with you guys. I'd love to have maybe questions put in chat, and then Melissa and I can help answer. Anyone have any specific questions? Talent acquisition or from Melissa?
And if anybody does have questions and they want to come off mute, feel free, raise your hand, and then I can allow you to come off mute and ask your questions. As people are thinking of those, Tally, this one would be for you. If people are, let's say, not located in your general area, do you all have a relocation assistance program for those that might be interested in those types of opportunities that would be open to relocation? What does that ultimately look like?
We do. So we offer relocation assistance and sometimes, depending on the situation, a housing stipend for candidates that are relocating. The amount will be different based on the mileage they're moving, how many people are moving with them. So that amount does vary, but it is offered absolutely for experienced nurses. It will just vary based on the amount of miles, people, and years of nursing that you've got under your belt. But I was looking through past applicants the other day, and we have so many people relocating to this area. Boise and Nampa are really, really, really sought after right now. And so we do have a really big budget for relocation. So absolutely, great question, RJ. Thank you for bringing that up.
I just wanted to say too, one of the questions that I ask that catches a lot of people off guard is I always ask about a mistake that you've made or an error that you've had as a nurse. And when people say they don't have one, that's an almost automatic no for me because we're all human, we all make errors. And as a nurse, everybody has some kind of an error. It's what you do after it and the way that you change your practice, you change your approach so that you don't create the error again. That's what I'm looking for. So just kind of keep that in mind because I know a lot of my nurse manager friends kind of feel the same way in that regard.
Melissa, I have one for you. Just being a WGU grad, what drove you to go to WGU, and how have you what degree program did you go through? How have you leveraged that experience in your career?
So I actually started as an LPN and then I bridged my RN many, many moons ago. But I was an associate degree nurse. So I was able to function as the supervisor for many, many years with my associates. And my CNO at the time and the current OB manager at that time said, you need to finish your BSN. So because you are my succession plan. So that's kind of what took me down that path. And I liked the options that I had because I was a mom and a wife and a full-time nursing supervisor. I liked the options that I had with WGU in being able to work kind of at my own pace and on my own timeline. And so that was a huge selling factor for me. And I really, really enjoyed the program and was very grateful for the opportunity it gave me because now here I sit.
No, I appreciate you sharing that. I'm always interested to hear, from our alumni populations, like what drove you to go to WGU, and it's always fascinating to kind of hear everybody's, very unique stories. I mean, there's a reason why you went to WGU, so it's always interesting to kind of hear people's perspective. So thank you for sharing that. And I see some people typing in the chat, so we'll give them a second. Just a reminder to everybody, session is being recorded, so if you do want to go back and reference anything that was covered, a ton of information Tally and Melissa covered, so if you want to go back and reference any of that, keep an eye out for that recording. I'll give people another minute or so to post those in. Oh, and one did come in. How do you maximize field experience in terms of potential having a job opportunity from it?
So I can take that. In field experience, I'm assuming you're referring to like clinicals or preceptorship type situations, that is huge. I have hired multiple people that did their like senior preceptorship on my unit, or did some form of clinicals on my unit. Presenting yourself very professionally, is huge. I have nursing students and people doing senior preceptorships that are on the desk on their phone. That is a huge, big red flag to me. Asking my nursing staff engaged questions, how our processes, policies, why we do something that we're doing, being really engaged is huge. And then if you see the clinical manager on the floor, it is always okay to say, hi, I just want to introduce myself. I've really enjoyed, your nursing staff. Thank you for this opportunity. Those kinds of things help set you apart from the rest of the crowd. And I've also had nursing students that my staff have said, oh my gosh, you need to hire this person. They asked great questions. They were engaged. They were so great with my patient. Those are also things making an impression on your preceptor or the nurse that you're working with.
Absolutely. That is a great, great call out. We've had several new grads that we've hired into our new grad residency. That is just because they did such a great job during clinical orientations and their preceptorship. So I'll get a message from Melissa or another OB manager, and they'll say, please reach out to this Kendra X. She did amazing. We would love to have her. And more often than not, they end up getting a position as a new grad in the unit, which then transitions into being an RN on that unit. So rotations, preceptorship, making a great impression can really get you that actual real job with real pain, real money benefits, and amazing experience. So thank you for bringing that up. I think that is so important. For anyone that's not looking for, because I know most of our students here are AD and the BSN, BS and the MSN, I'll send out our careers webpage. And if you'd like to talk more about what we have open, you can apply to any positions online. If you're interested specifically in either the emergency department, labor and delivery, or the float pool, those are areas that I staff essentially. So I would love to chat with you. Thank you so much for attending. I know that an hour can be a long time over your lunch. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk with us. I hope I get to talk with you soon. And we just appreciate your time. And hopefully I will get to talk with you on the phone or virtually. And we'd love to have you wind up working for St. Al's. We know that great students come from WGU, as Melissa is one of them, and she's fantastic.
And thank you both, Tally and Melissa, for jumping on, providing this fantastic insight. Reminder to everybody, session was recorded. That'll be sent out, as well as the questionnaire that I just posted into the chat. And I just wanted to give you an opportunity. I know, Tally, you just kind of did a wrap up, but if either of you had any closing remarks for anybody, anything that you wish that you had covered, that or questions that weren't asked that you feel like it would be important for those that are attending, I just want to give you both the opportunity and the floor to kind of close things out.
I think just from a recruitment standpoint, put your resume out there. Don't wait for us necessarily to look for you. I would say just apply, but apply with hospitals that resonate with you, that have an underlying core value that really speaks to you as a person, because that's where you're going to be spending. I mean, we spend more time with our colleagues than we do with our family in this environment, whether it's on the floor nursing or even with HR. I spend more time on the computer with my colleagues than I do with my husband or my friends, truly. So it is that much more important to find a place to be employed that really does fit with you. It fits your what you need to live as far as compensation, but also fits those core values, because in the end of the day, who you are. You're a St. Al's nurse, and that means so much when it comes to everything that we stand for. So I would do research, apply, put out resumes, but make sure to customize them, personalize them. It's those small details I think people just kind of forget to do that make a big impact when they're actually getting in front of a recruiter and then in front of a hiring manager. So prepare for the small details, ask questions, and do your research. Those are the three kind of top things I'd really like to hone in home. And know that we want to talk to you. I love interviewing. I love having people that are engaged. I love when they come with questions. It means that they are just as interested in us as I am getting to know them. And I think sometimes people just show up to interviews just kind of ready for yes and no questions or answers. And we really want to get to know you. And most often that doesn't involve a quick yes or no answer. So thoughtfully prepared, and just know that we love what we do. And so I would come being excited to interview, but also be prepared to interview.
And I would say, and I kind of put most of my suggestions in chat as we were going, but really be specific when you're asked a question. We don't want to hear a Google AI answer to questions. I want specifics. If I'm asking you what an error you made was, give me something specific. If I'm asking how you made a difference in a patient's experience, give me details. Give me like what it felt like. Paint a picture. Those are the things that are going to set you apart from someone else because, like Telly said, right now we have a lot of people that are experienced applying to jobs. That have 3 or more years of experience. So set yourself apart by giving really detailed answers. You guys are all nurses, so you have those experiences to lean on to be specific in the way you're answering your questions. That's all I got.
Awesome. Thank you both so much for taking the time today. And thanks for everybody for jumping in. Have a fantastic rest of your Thursday. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.